Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. In today's episode, we are sending a probe to Eve, which, if all goes well, may actually be able to land on Eve. And even if things go badly, we'll be able to send us a lot of science from the high space, near space, high atmosphere, and potentially low atmosphere from Eve, which is the equivalent of Venus in this particular game. Now, in between episodes, you may notice here, the time of our mission has been extended quite a bit. We've been in space for 391 days on this mission. I believe a Kerbin year is about 400 days, or exactly 400 days, actually. The reason we did that is because we had to allow Eve to catch up and get behind Kerbin. Eve being in the lower orbit means it takes less time for it to go around, so effectively you can think of it as it's orbiting the sun more quickly. So it's at some point going to pass Kerbin and keep going. We are effectively at Kerbin, which means we're going quite slowly. The idea is what we're going to do is we're going to burn basically retrograde here to drop our orbit, and as we do, I mean the time it takes us for us to travel from, you know, here to like here, something like that, because we're going to burn retrograde, lower our periapsis, and we'll just end up somewhere over here, Eve will have gotten there, will have moved faster, and will arrive at roughly the same time, is the hope. Now, this is roughly kind of the position that you need for this. There's a couple of resources online, but the idea being, if something's faster, it's going to be behind you. Depending on the distances between the two of you and the distance relative to the sun, you're going to need to be closer or further away or something like that. Moho is particularly tricky. But somewhere like this should work. I suspect that probably we want Eve to actually be somewhere around here, but that's okay. If we're off, it just means that our burn is going to be less efficient. We're going to need a lot more fuel for us to meet up with our target, but this will be a good example. So again, what we're basically doing is we're orbiting the sun. Both ourselves and Eve are orbiting the sun, so we want to burn retrograde relative to the sun to lower our orbit to meet Eve. However, we are currently actually in orbit around Kerbin. So to burn and to leave Kerbin, we have to burn prograde. We have to burn prograde to make our orbit bigger and bigger and bigger until it exits the Kerbin system. But we would like to exit in the direction that is retrograde to Kerbin's movement. Kerbin is going counterclockwise, just like everything else. If you're looking down from the North Pole, it's traveling to the left, so we want to exit to the right. And starting our burn, actually pretty darn close to where we are, probably a little further down here, is probably the sweet spot to do it. So we're going to plan a maneuver, I don't know, somewhere around here is probably fine. We're going to take this, and we're going to pull prograde, and we're going to yank that until we successfully escape the Kerbin system. Oh, there was a second slingshot around the moon, but I don't think it was going to be in the correct direction. Keep pulling prograde. There it is. Okay, so there's our escape from Kerbin, and if we zoom out, we'll get a purple line which will indicate our orbit, and notice that already our orbit, see the blue line here is Kerbin's orbit, the white line is some stray satellite. The blue line here is Kerbin, so we're already quite a bit lower than Kerbin, which is cool. It means if we add more prograde over here, we'll actually end up dropping our orbit even more. Now, to actually find the intersection with Eve, first of all, you'd want to set as a target, can be quite tricky from this point of view. If you happen to start your burn at exactly the right time, I think Eve is too far behind us, but that's okay. Then you'll actually, wherever your periapsis ends up, that's where you're going to encounter Eve. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Clearly, there's no encounter right now, but we'll figure it out. My goal usually is to get it like relatively close. I'll actually back up a little bit here. So I'm going to burn enough to escape from Kerbin. And I mean, if we could do it all at Kerbin, that would be the most efficient. But I'm going to burn enough to escape from Kerbin, and then once we're in orbit around the sun, I'll be able to make clearer and easier maneuvers to get this finished. So I think that's going to be fine. Node is, wow, the timing is just freaking dead on perfect here. We actually have to start, and now, there's our burn. We actually have to face the right direction, though, so we're a little off there, but I'm sure that's fine. Oh, I don't have... something broke because I don't have my orbit and flight information here anymore, which is okay. So I don't know how much delta V we've got going on, but that's all right. I don't know what the heck happened there. Huh. Odd. Some modules are disabled until you unlock or upgrade the tracking station, but those are available. We have unlocked those. Maybe if I popped out and popped back in, it would fix it. But that's okay. Let's not worry about it. I actually did have a slight problem. I started this recording a little while ago, and then I had a power failure, so I had to shut down my computer and everything, and then come back to it. Okay, so let's stop here. We have escaped Kerbin at this point. Our yellow line here, this is us. So our purple line, or rather, the blue line is our current situation. The yellow line is our next situation, so we're going to exit Kerbin over here. So all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to let time pass until we escape Kerbin. And then we're going to... Oh! We're getting some science. Oh, because, right, we're in high space now. And we can transmit this for 100% and transmit an irradiance scan for 100% as well. Sweet. I love how spiky this has gotten. It's just ridiculous. Just all kinds of awesome. Fantastic. Okay, let's go back to time warping. And 10,000. It should drop us to 50 when we get to the escape. Lots of stuff going on in this system. That AP marker is kind of funny, the way it flew by there. Of course, our apoapsis would be at Kerbin's orbit level, basically. Okay. Time warp dropped. Oh, all the way, because we've got more science. Radio plasma wave scan from around the sun. Magnometer scan. Orbital telescope. We've got lots and lots and lots of solar. This is high above the sun. I wonder how much science you get from low above the sun. So we're going to transmit all that. We've got plenty of electric charge because we've got considerable battery, and we've got our solar panels, although they're not currently... Oh, no, they're basically facing the sun, so that should be okay. Although it wouldn't surprise me if some of the solar panels weren't really functional. There's Kerbin over there, which is lovely, but that's not our target today. Our target is, in fact... Wow, Mount Mo was on a crazy inclination, too. I didn't realize that. And actually... Eve is on a slight inclination as well, hence the descending and ascending node, which might make it a little trickier to find a rendezvous, but that's okay. All right, so it's set as a target. We have the option turned on to always show the closest approach, which is handy. We're going to go, and here's us, and we're traveling. We're still traveling, you know, counterclockwise, so we're traveling that way. So if we click here, well, that's in an hour. There, in 22 minutes, a maneuver node over there. So what we're going to try to do is figure out our approach. So now we're burning relative to the sun, so we want to burn retrograde relative to the sun. And we're going to see if we can get some sort of encounter. I'm going to wait for the encounter markers to properly show up, just to give us an idea. Okay, somewhere over here. The problem is this. We are going to be over here. So first of all, I'm burning retrograde too much. So I'm dropping my periapsis lower than we'll ultimately want. That's fuel inefficiency number one. But two, we're going to be over here while Eve is behind us. So we indeed started this whole maneuver too soon. And that's going to mean... Well, I mean, we could just wait. We could just wait for a few orbits around here, but we're not going to do that. We're going to fix it, but it requires some brute forcing. Since we are effectively arriving at the point of Eve's orbit, that's our destination. We want to match, you know, we need to get at the same orbital height as Eve. But we're getting there further ahead, which means we're too fast, right? Eve is going to be too far behind us. So what we want to do is we want to delay when we encounter Eve's orbit such that Eve has more time to get to us. As such, what we want to do now is we want to nudge this line here one way or another. Well, there's two ways to do it. Either there might be a way to maneuver it so that we arrive here later, or we can maneuver it so that we arrive closer up when we do. And that's going to be some sort of radial or anti-radial kind of burn. So if we go and right-click on a little marker over here, we can see our separation is 3.8 million kilometers, very far apart. If I pull the radial or anti-radial, oh, that's increasing it. So I'm going to pull out the radial, which is actually going to push us out towards the right. It's a little counterintuitive. You might think, if I push it to the left, then we'll get there sooner. But in fact, with here, what's going to happen, because remember, this whole time, Eve is in the lower orbit. Eve is moving faster than we are. So even if we go radial, so we're going to push our line out to the right, which means this point's going to be a little higher up over here. But it's going to take us that much longer to reach this point. Meanwhile, Eve is going faster. And we're going to spend more of our time at a higher orbit. So by pulling us radial, we are actually going to see where our marker is going further to left. We're going to meet Eve further along this path than before. So we're delaying our arrival, but Eve is moving faster than we are. So it's catching up and catching up and catching up. And then every now and again, it might break like that. Then you just have to figure out a little either retrograde or prograde. There we go to get it back. There's probably going to be a little bit more retrograding and then a little bit more of this. But eventually, we will, in fact, get ourselves an encounter. Very close now. We're within 300,000 kilometers. At some point, we will get a break. There it is. Okay, we're going to have an encounter now. We could keep tuning right now, but let's finish this maneuver. So this is going to be 1150 delta V. So this is a lot more delta V, considering we've already done some of our retrograde burn by leaving Kerbin. We're using a lot more fuel than we would like, but we've got enough. I can't remember now because we don't have our tools working anymore, but we should have enough fuel to get this done. So I'm going to point to the maneuver node. And then I'll fast forward. I mean, at this point, being 1 or 2 minutes off either way doesn't make much of a difference. But we're gonna try to execute this with a little bit of finesse, not too much, because I mean, then, whoa, there we go. 11 seconds late, but that's fine. Start to burn. We'll also have to do a staging over here, which means this burn's actually going to be a fair bit longer than expected. But that's okay. Our goal is to do this, and hopefully, at the end of it, we'll still be in an encounter status with Eve. But even if we're not, we'll be damn close, and we can tweak our way there. We designed this mission to have an excess of fuel, because really all the fuel that's left, and this fuel is going to go a fairly long way, Delta V. I think this was something like 2,000 fuel by itself, or 2,000 Delta V by itself. We only needed, 500 of it right now. All of this is simply to get us to smack into Venus. We're not trying to enter orbit around it or do anything like that. We are literally going to just try to smack into Venus. You can see we're doing radial, we're mostly doing radial burn. Retrogrades over here, which you know that retrograde and prograde are always the most efficient maneuvers. So if we're doing a movement that's not very retrogrady or progrady, you know we're doing something relatively inefficient here and non-ideal, but that's okay. All right, we're awfully close. Let me just slow this down a bit. But there's a good chance that, oh, it actually is going to give us an encounter like that. Well, that is very lucky. A lot of times you may not quite get the encounter because your timing's off or your burn didn't take the same amount of time as expected because you had the stage, in which case finish the maneuver close-ish to, the maneuver planning, and then just plan another maneuver, and then you might have to, am I supposed to go prograde or retrograde? But one of the combinations will get you your encounter. So now that we've done that, what I can do is I can focus my view on Eve. I'm going to quick save here. Zoom in towards Eve and see what's going on. So this is us way over here. There's Eve. You know what? We're actually really darn close, except for the massive inclination difference. If we were way off one side or another, then I would do some amount of retrograde or prograde burn to get it closer. But we're really gosh darn close right now. And I don't know, if one way or another might lead to this getting closer. A little prograde, but I wouldn't want to do it too much, because really what we want to do is we want to make sure to raise this. Now, luckily, that's very easy to do at this point, because we've got it set at our target. Our descending node is actually over here. This is actually the sweet spot to twist our orbit to match the inclination of Eve. So I guess that's what we're going to do. It's surprisingly close to where we're going to do the encounter, but I think that's going to be all right. So basically, at the descending node, if we right-click on the node, yeah, so we can see that it's going to be... Okay, I'll right-click on this side. So we're 2 degrees off, and if we do, at this point, a normal burn, you can see the difference is going to shrink and shrink and shrink, and it's still a pretty substantial burn. It's kind of surprising. I'm actually wondering, is there any chance... Where's my ship? Over there. If my ship were to do it, further out here... I mean, it's not even really the ascending node and descending node we need to match. It's just to make sure. There we go. We want to come in. Yeah, we're still going to be going crooked, but not. But that's okay. The more equatorial, in terms of orbit we're coming in, then the smoother it will be to land, because we'll be rotating the right way. But this is going to be very, very much close enough. So if we do a combination of that plus, if I right-click on this to keep it up, plus a little bit of this, I'm just trying to bring these distances down, down, because these are still in millions of meters. Not kilometers, at least, anymore, but millions of meters. Where are we? Now we're actually too high. So I want to make the changes as far away as possible, because... Whoop. Let me be better. If we can end up with something like, I don't know, the atmosphere on Eve is thicker than Kerbin. I don't know if it goes up as high. Let's assume it sort of does, and let's go for something. Oh, that tweaks very quickly for some reason. Let's go for something like, yeah, I don't know why it just really dances. Might be rounding errors. I'll probably want to go for something like, well, you know, 40k is probably okay. So almost certainly we're not going to be able to execute this properly, but it's only a 76.8 meter per second change. That's nothing. So if we do that, and then we focus in on ourselves again, and we ask to warp to next maneuver, so it's going to be several days before we arrive there. So meanwhile, we're in a higher orbit than Kerbin. So that's the thing. By going sideways, we pushed ourselves into a higher orbit, which is part of the reason we delayed our meeting there. Now we're going to be in a lower orbit. Eventually, we'll actually pass Kerbin. But first it passed us, then we're going to pass it. There's some of our debris from before. Okay, we're pointing at the maneuver node. We're not exactly at the time, but I think that's going to be close enough. And then I can double check. And we can manually do some of these adjustments. But what's our current periapsis? 97 is pretty good. Let's say for this, I want to burn maybe a little radial. Whoop! Wow, that was really fast. So that's a good time for us to hop out of this mode. Bring, not our gimbal limiter, our thrust limiter way down. To do microscopic little maneuvers, we'll change to radial plus. When you're this far away, a small burn has a massive effect. And yeah, I think I'll target something like 40. There. Excellent. Love it. And in theory, I don't need any more fuel. In practice, I'm going to keep it around for now. But look at this. We've got the 2/3 of a tank still left. That's going to be A-okay. So I don't think there's anything left for us to do at this point. We can go ahead. I'll tell it to time warp to here so that I don't accidentally like overwarp too much. See, there's our target, Eve. So we are about to pass Kerbin, and Eve is meeting up over here too. We're just like descending. Very nice. We can verify that our numbers haven't changed drastically, because sometimes just some math drift can happen, but we're still okay. Warp to here and center on myself. It's about 4 days away. And then I'll just manually force the warp through it, probably times 1,000, because it's still going to slow itself down. We might be able to do 10,000. Let's do it. There's the slowdown. Times 1. We're getting our science from high above Eve. Not that I know where it is. I wonder if we could have done a flyby of the moon. There's no question we could have done it if I had planned this out. I have no idea where Eve is. We shouldn't be above us or below. I don't know. Let's transmit this. Our signal is still good and strong. 95% strength. So that's really good to see. Vacuum. Imagine that. Purple clouds, purple lakes, purple ground, what's not to love? Passing through Eve's prominent bow shock, several characteristic radio wave patterns are detected. Excellent. So I'll send all that. Well, we're not getting a ton of science, but we're getting some. In progress over there. So we need to do science low in space and flying high above Eve. And in fact, we're going to do way more than that. So, okay, Eve is... Oh, it must be this dot. Like, I can just barely see it time and time again. It must be this thing. Like, I thought it was sort of a lighting aberration from the sun, but it's probably that. So I don't think there's anything for us to do. Although, again, if we could have planned a flyby of Gilly, wouldn't that have been cool? I mean, we've got a surprising amount of juice here. I don't know. I mean, we definitely have enough to work it, but it's mostly a lack of patience here. So that's going to be okay. So for now, let's go ahead and just time warp until we're considerably closer. Can't even see it here. It's like a really weird shadow. I'm actually wondering if there might be a glitch. I'm a little concerned. Especially since my mech jeb didn't load properly. I'm going to do a hard save here, just in case there turns out to be something really wonky. But it could just be that it's purple and the sunlight makes it hard to see. Oh, there we go. We are closing in on near space, which is why the time warp was auto-stopping. Or is that just where time... Oh, yeah, because I said warp 2. Derp, derp, derp. And luckily, we're going to come down on the sunny side. Not that it matters too much. We are going to have to go and bring in our solar panels so they don't get ripped off. Ah, there we go. Space near Eve. Transmit. 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 Our solar panels are going to work better than ever before. There we go. We finished that step because of the proximity to the sun. Unfortunately, they're not very big solar panels, and they're partially occluded. I'm thinking, actually, interesting little orientation change. I suspect very strongly, oh my god, we're not going to be able to get our true height information. Oh, that doesn't matter. We're landing by parachute. Yeah, it's fine. So, we can verify 40,000. Yep, I think I'm going to go and ditch my stage here. We're going to inflate the heat shield. And we will be turning to surface this. Although, now we're not generating any power whatsoever. So let me turn the other way for now. There we go. So we'll see if we can fully charge things. If we're not transmitting everything, we should be okay. Ooh, more telescope info. What was I saying about not transmitting things? Western Seas. We might be duplicating some of these things. I'm going to toggle you. I'm going to toggle you. For the descent, I'm wondering if we should toggle the antenna. Because I think the game, as long as we actually stage things ahead of time, which has presumably been programmed successfully or correctly. Deployment safety safe. Diameter. Pre-deployment. Deployment altitude. I don't know if those are Evian numbers. Okay, hold on. Wait, I didn't realize we were re-entering already. This is why we make saves. Because I'm trying to, like, interact with UIs as opposed to, you know, playing the game. Let's try that again. Is my quick save... Wait. What? I quick saved since then? What? I'm sure I did. No, I made a hard save, not a quick save. Hold on. Where's my hard save? 21, 22. Sorry. Now, we should be... There we go. Approaching there. Let me do a quick save as well so that I can revert to this. Warped here. Get some... Okay, I guess that is the warp. Warp to here. Okay, cancel warp. Transmit, transmit, transmit. Do that. We're gonna eject you. Do some more transmits. We're gonna inflate you. So, I'm gonna do this for now for the solar panel to keep working. Then I'm going to toggle. Toggle. Quick save again. I guess retract all the panels, which I have to do one at a time. Now, it's not the end of the world if we lost the solar panels. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go surface retrograde, which is actually our approach vector. I'm going to transmit this. It's a little risky without more power gen. Oh, so we got Midlands, Lowlands, Western Sea. Okay, so we really are passing over a lot of biomes quite quickly. Okay, power's still fine. Now it's going to want to run experiments on our way in, which might actually be super dangerous. Because it's going to extend things, isn't it? Okay. Well, we have to... Oh, that's a... That's right. We have to go in with the antenna extended so we can transmit maybe something. No. All right, retract antenna. But then we lose the ability to control it. I'm really concerned about this. Oh, I need to pause. I need to pre-deploy the parachutes, but again... Okay. We're going to have to hope that the parachutes are correctly programmed. I don't want you to deploy. I want you to arm. Toggle. No, 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 no. I can't click on the antenna. I don't know where it is. Sorry about this. I can't find the right place to click. I was trying to click on the dome, but it was clicking through it. Where do I have to click for the antenna? Oh, over there. All right, transmit this. Let's try this one more time. Arm! There we go. So spacebar was deploying. Arm is what we want. Thank you very much. And then we're going to retract the antenna. And that's it. We might not be able to run science on the way down. What do we need? High atmosphere? I'm gonna keep these experiments so I can ship them after. Just keep them. All right. Here's the heat shield. Everything's facing the right way. We have no control over the ship right now. I don't think the SSS is working. Is the heat shield overheating? Are we coming in too steeply? Oh my god, the heat shield is burning up, you guys. The heat shield is going to burn up on fire. I can safely say I didn't expect that. Is it? I mean, we're burning off a lot of speed. Oh no, the red bar is shrinking! This camera shake's making it really hard to see, but the red bar is shrinking. Oh my god, I was sure the heat shield was going to burst into flames. Okay. It pre-deployed the parachutes too early. That's what I was afraid of. So, let's reload this. Okay, things are in relatively good shape. We are... Oh, I can't... Oh, shit, I can't actually change this. Okay, we can make this work still. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to our hard save, and we're going to change the angle, because we're clearly... I should look up. KSB Eve. Like, how far out does its atmosphere go? Because it's pretty freaking high. Which I guess makes sense. That's one of the reasons it's got... Atmo... 90 meters. And it gets thicker a lot faster. So what we have to do, even though it's going to be very hard to do at this point, is we're going to have to burn pro-radial and try to raise our periapsis as much as possible. Again, radial burns, not very efficient, but we have lots of fuel here. And it is the only way. Here we need to shove the periapsis sideways. Okay, that's too much. We need to bring us within the atmosphere. We have an atmospheric graph here. Where does it hit one atmosphere? This is not a very helpful chart. Oh, this one. Eve. Does Eve start? Oh my god, Eve starts at above 1 pressure of atmosphere? Oh, it only goes to 10,000, so it's not very helpful. Okay, well, tell you what. We'll bring us into, like, 70. It's got to be enough so that we don't just skip through the atmosphere. And enter a weird decaying orbit. Well, as long as we entered an orbit, that wouldn't be too bad. Quick save. Inflate. Okay, we'll move up some more. I suppose if this fails, what I'm going to do to complete the mission is we are going to change things so that we are in fact just going to skim the atmosphere just barely so that we can transmit the science before we burn up. So we'll have enough time in the very thinnest atmosphere, which isn't very thin, to transmit this before it goes. Okay, we've got a full electric charge. That's great. This shadow effect is particularly weird and intimidating. Transmit, 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 transmit. We are going to go let some of the stuff recharge. Oh, I'm going to start pulling things in. Toggle. Toggle. Height's still fine. Just going to get us charged a bit. I think I'm going to turn off the auto science, and I'll manually see if I can keep up one of the science things so that in the upper atmosphere, we're not going to get a lot of tech. Can I get this one? It almost looks, there it is. If I keep this up and pinned, because it can log temperature. So we're just going to try to get a temperature scan from the very highest atmosphere. And that's it. That's going to be our only goal there. Okay. Charge is coming up. Let me start retracting these panels. Retract, retract. 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 And you are also going to get pinned over here. So we're going to turn to surface retrograde. Let's quick save now. And I'm just going to try to hold that for now. I'm going to turn off the Smart ASS and just confirm that we're not using cheaty things. I'll encourage it to hold surface retrograde for now. And we'll just be ready to retract this in a second. Just want to hold this as long as possible, but, you know, not cause it to burn up. So just as we hit in like 90. All right, retract. So we lose the signal. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like actually maybe the SAS keeps working when you're not controlling it. So that might be okay. I need to actually... Hold on. Can I deploy these when I don't have a signal? Maybe you can still stage. I actually don't know what limited probe control is. I might still be able to just manually stage this, which means that entire last flight should have worked perfectly fine. We're going to log this temperature. Excellent. And what else can we do? Not the telescope. Oh, I don't like that temperature. Log pressure data. There we go. A couple of high orbital stuff. And we're not going to deploy anything else until our chutes are out, at which point what we will do is we will just turn on our auto science and it'll just pop up a million different things. Okay, camera angle change, very disorienting. Heat on the heat shield is fine. We are aerodynamically stable here, which was always the hope. We're slowly descending, but we're burning off a lot of speed. I think that camera angle changed yet. When we officially entered orbit into here, the apoapsis is dropping, as expected. And we are currently climbing over here. It's possible what will happen is we will leave the atmosphere, and then, yeah, we're still using electric charge. Well, the probe just does by itself. It's possible we will leave the atmosphere and then do a second pass here, which is fine, as long as it's not dropping our periapsis too much in between. Because that's the fear with skipping through, is that you're dropping your periapsis so much that the next time through is going to be super thin and super dangerous. I could have decayed our orbit a little bit ahead of time, but this is fine. Well, all right. Exit Atmo in 14 seconds. We'll just physics warp a little bit. That's totally okay. So out of curiosity, now that we're out of the atmosphere, so SAS does work. I think you can't do partial throttle changes. You can do full throttle, and I don't think I can manually steer. No, I can't manually steer, so you're limited to that, but that's okay. That makes the re-entry very, very comfortable. I will extend a solar panel. I will just invert you so that you're facing the sun somehow. Prograde. There we go. Just to gain a charge. Quick save again. Periapsis is fine, so we're going to go ahead and time warp all the way to the other side. Okay, so a couple of things. Realizing that apparently you can stage. I feel like I might be able to stage. I'm not sure. But I might be able to still at least, like, initiate some arming and things. Oh, we're re-entering already. Shit. Turn around. I did not realize we were already re-entering. You need to retract. Mr. Solar Panel. Excellent. Okay, this time, this should be, hopefully, the re-entry. We might have done it more safely this way, actually, by doing it in 2 passes. It might be A-okay. I'm not seeing the heat build up this time, because I think there was a really critical amount of speed. There it is, but I think it's going to grow up much slowly. Much more slowly. Come on. You can do it. How's your apoapsis? It's coming down. I mean, once the apoapsis is inside the atmosphere, then you know you're not leaving again. Now, we're still on the way down. I think the periapsis is somewhere around 64, 61, and dropping. And it's possible that we'll start rising, but not rise up far enough to be outside the atmosphere, and that would be okay, too. Burn. This doesn't have an ablade or anything, so... Yeah, it's just got a heat meter, because a regular heat shield burns itself off to reduce overall heat. Think we're going to be okay. There we go. It's almost inside the atmosphere. We're not at periapsis, we're getting pushed further away and dropping. Beautiful. Whoo! So yeah, and this is without smart ASS, which we won't need at all. World's first milestone. Suborbital flight around Eve. Atmospheric flight. Excellent. We get money. We get fame. It took a couple of tries, although part of it was not understanding some of the mechanics of you know, the right-clicking, as well as the mechanics of how the signal mode works. And yeah, I should have tuned the parachutes for some other height or something like that. But the fact that I can manually deploy them, this was a lot harder with remote tech. This is actually going to be relatively easy. So hopefully at some point the flames will stop. Eject the parachute. And then the question will be, or not eject the parachute, but deploy the parachute. The question will be, when can we safely deploy the antenna? That I don't quite know. Let's do a quick save at this point. I'm very confident. In fact, I'm so confident I'm going to physics warp, although that is really asking for a heck of a lot of trouble. But yeah, the speed is dropping dramatically. You look at the G-forces. That's how hard we're hitting into the air. We're hitting, that's 5G, so like 8G worth of deceleration force from the thick air. We're still 44 kilometers above the surface. In Kerbin, that would be very thick air, or very thin air, but here, it's not. So we can deploy these chutes. I can disable the SAS at this point. Apparently when I set the chutes, it didn't affect both of them. So that's very concerning, that we might hit way too hard. Let's hope that the landing gear is fairly comfortable with this. We may or may not be able to drop this right now. I think I'll wait till everything fully deploys, but I think what I will do, it feels, let's see, what speed are we at? 180? I bet you we can extend the antenna. Not 100% sure, but it looks like it's okay. So I'm also going to turn on the science. So we will transmit. This is upper atmosphere. Excellent. I want to transmit all of our stored data as well. Unable to transmit. Do we not have line of sight? That's slightly annoying. We don't have line of sight right now. We will have it sometimes, so we'll be able to transmit some of this and complete it. But I was hoping to do a whole bunch of transmits on the way down. Now, I'm wondering if I should leave this in place, because this is going to be a bit of a rough landing. I'm going to go to ×4. It's going to be a really long way down. Because we're descending at, you know, about 100 meters a second. So we have several minutes before we actually touch down here. Now going at ×4, it's not so bad, but we're still slowing down incredibly dramatically. And that's without our chute being deployed. This wibble wobble is pretty funny. I suspect most of our slowdown is actually coming from this. I'm actually thinking I'm going to turn on the SAS to help stabilize this. It's probably mostly coming down from this. Hey, we can see the clouds now. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's too bad we're on... Of course, it makes sense. If we're on the sunny side of the planet, and Kerbin and Eve are both on the same side of the sun, then the sunny side is facing the sun, and therefore away from Kerbin. So it makes sense that we wouldn't have a signal at all. We'll just have to wait a few months. Well, actually, that's not true. We can transmit at night. We won't be generating power then, but we can transmit at night. Or we can wait a few months, at which point Kerbin will be in the daylight sky of Eve. So I don't know what the distance to the actual ground is here, and I'm really hoping that these parachutes are going to work out as we come down through the cloud layer. Can't see nothing. Can't see nothing at all, but I can tell you this atmosphere is much, much, much thicker than Kerbin. Much thicker. I am very, very happy that our surface speed is so low right now, considering that our parachutes haven't fully deployed. They're going to deploy something like 2,500 meters above the surface. Because I'm hoping that I've got enough chute here. I'm worried that I didn't set them properly. And also that we're going to land kind of crooked. Okay, there's the full deployment. Cancel the ×4. I just encourage you to point us upwards, if you can, as much as possible. I don't actually care to see the battery banks. Oh. It's because of that over there. So, yeah, we're going plenty slow. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quick save first. I'm going to go and jettison the heat shield. And I'm going to deploy the landing gear. Excellent. And I know it doesn't act well. I'll wait for the solar panels. Keep going at ×4, and we are descending. Our chutes are kind of derpy. My game just hung. Oh, come on! How can the game crash now? Well, tell you what, this video's going on long enough. I know it's a bit of a cliffhanger, but we're gonna have to get back to it next time. Thanks for watching. See you then.